Evening, guys. How are you tonight? Just came out to the garage. I was in the house. I'm sitting on the couch full, so I just had to come out here and do a little vid. So it's been raining all day long. I haven't done much to this body, but I did get a first coat on the outside done yesterday. I didn't want to touch anything today because it's been damp and rainy since I woke up, and I had a bunch of running around to do all morning into the afternoon. So I just kind of haven't spent much time out here. When I did come out here, this is my little backup heater that I like to use when it's a little cool and damp in here. And it crapped out. Went to pull the string this morning. It's completely locked up. I just used it yesterday. It was working no problem. So I don't know. It's warranted for a year, but I can't do anything with it because of the pandemic. So, anyways, I cleaned this body all up yesterday with soap and water and rinsed it all off to get all the sand and the dust off it before I did any of this plastic bond to this body. And after I washed it, I realized this thing is not in bad shape considering it's 9 years old. It is an original Baja 5T first generation. And the body is not that bad of shape other than what I have ripped in the past and I've been fixing for the last 6 years now. But other than that, it's not bad. And this Losi is a first gen Losi, but it came with a 26. It does have a bunch of goodies inside with pretty much everything. You can hear it run. It's got the Zenoa 32. There's actually another Zenoa 32 that has to kind of be taken apart. I think the carb is gummed up on it because I couldn't get it to tune right last year at all. And this one went in and ran like a top right from break-in. So if anybody's wondering about this is actually original HPI Baja 5B. Started out as a 5B, and my buddy wanted to turn it into a 5T because I had the 5T. The only thing is it had a bunch of Roven kit put into it to make it the 5T. Body is a Roven, King Motors, same crap, different pile. So there is a huge difference. I know people are going to be screaming at me for saying this, but I've put both to the test. I know what I'm looking at. So this authentic HPI body, when I wanted to get a backup, realized it was almost $300. This one is $100. And again, as opposed to the little tear in the back, this thing has been beaten. It has been bashed. It's taken a direct side impact from that Losi at about 40K. And there was a little mark here somewhere, but I have no idea where it is because it never affected the body. So I think for a 9-year-old body, that's pretty good shape. This thing has had a little bit of bashing, but not a whole lot. And you can see the difference between the body. It's so thin compared to that other one. There's tears everywhere. This whole back section is just torn apart. There's a big difference in plastic between a King Motors and a Roven. Same with the actual plastic on the vehicle. I mean, this is part of the kit. That's been broken since pretty much day one. This whole section of the bumper is actually being held on by tie straps. And these side posts broke on the other side. The only thing in here is there's actually a Zenoa 29.5 in here. And it runs like a top. Tires and rims are Roven, as you can see. As for my HPI, I don't put any of the knockoff stuff on my stuff. It's just the way I am. I like to keep everything original or upgraded to Team Fast Eddie or Turtle Racing or any of that other stuff. But on with the body, yeah, I just put some mend on the top. And the reason I started on the top is because I had to get that crack to seat back together as much as possible. So I had put something under here and I put a little weight on the roof of the truck just so I could get that up a little higher. And the crack went right back together on its own. So I just kind of threw some of the stuff on the top and little indentations and cracks along here. That way I don't have to deal with the top right now. It's all closed back up. And I can deal with the underneath. So the crack is all seated back together. I haven't done any of the work. It's just because the outside or the top of the body is keeping everything together. So now I can put the tape on, and then, like I said, I'm going to put the plastic weld on top of the tape rather than the shoe goo. If it does come apart again, the shoe goo being a rubbery substance, it's really hard to get the shoe goo off again if it does end up pulling apart. With the plastic weld, if it does come apart, I can easily just sand it off and kind of start over again. But like I said, I'm going to try the mesh and put it all in here with the plastic or with the weld on it. And then I'll work on getting this outside finished, which is just a matter of sanding all this stuff down to flat and all this stuff until it's nice and smooth, obviously, and mask all my area off, and then I'll give it a little spray. And it usually turns out pretty good, so we'll see what happens. I don't, like I said, it's $300 body. I don't want to go buy a cheap Rovalin because, again, way thicker plastic on this. And you can see the difference between one to the other, so. But yeah, I've never broke this truck, man. None of the plastic has ever broken. Now, I do WD-40 this every year before I put it away for the winter and just blow it off. So there is a lot of WD-40 soaked into that plastic on this truck, which is why all the plastic is so shiny. Which is also the reason I don't put any metal. I don't put any kind of metal on it, and none of the other plastic has ever broke. It's fairly flexible. So there's a exhaust I don't have anymore, besides the tires and a clutch. Some the shocks are original; they're new shocks, but I put the stiffer springs on the shocks. And what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, the whatever those things are called again. Limiting straps. I can't even think what the hell they're called. That's pretty much all I've changed on that truck. I've never broken any parts on it ever. So that's why there's no upgraded parts on it. Oh yeah, there's a steel spur gear in it, but that's about the only thing I ever did was spin a plastic spur gear. That's why there's a steel one. Nothing's ever broke. This thing, I couldn't believe how much stuff was falling off it. But it is what it is. It's just a ratty body. It's a crash body now. I would like to take one of these exhausts, though. There's so many exhausts here, and I could just throw them on this 5T of mine, but that must be I don't know what body or what engine that is. Probably out of the Losi. So, and then I got all these nitros up here. I started off with nitro and it was like 13. And it was the old Kyosho, the Kyosho Turbo Burns and the USA 1 Nitro Crusher, which are all in the house. But these things you can throw around so easy. I couldn't believe when I first got this Savage. This Savage is all original parts, other than a tune pipe and a clutch. It still has the original spur gear, the plastic spur gear in it even. I've never spun a gear in that. It's always ran good, but I stopped using it once we got the fifth scales because they're just so much easier to use. There's no fucking around with tuning, and these two are probably the last two that were used. That's the an XS with a K engine, so it's a kit. It's got the steel gear in it and everything. This has got a whole lot of different upgrades on it. It also has a K engine that's somewhere, but it's got all kinds of parts under it. Different chassis. But yeah, just don't use them anymore. Nitro is such a pain in the ass. I couldn't be bothered with it all. Too much tuning. Fifth scales, add gas and go. It's so much easier. No screwing around. But to each their own, man. Some people like electric. I used to have electric. I never had brushless. I know they're cool, but I just couldn't be bothered with the batteries and the ESCs and everything else that you got to deal with. I've never put any money into this fifth scale stuff that I have, so I just like my fifth scale. I'd like a little crawler or something in the house to play around with in the house with the animals or the kid or whatever, but my kid hasn't gotten into RCs that much either. And I don't know. He will eventually, I'm sure, but just haven't got to it yet. I gotta like really clean up this corner here with all these parts. The parts are alright, and tires I need to move somewhere. They're just kind of pile it up here. Anyways, guys, that's all I got. That's all I did to the body. Hoping to do some more tomorrow once the weather clears up and it's not so damp in here.